everyone. Today with us we have Professor Vinod Menon, the chair of the Department of Physics at the City College of New York. His research interests include quantum technology, light-matter interaction, and nano and micro photonics. Dr. Menon, would you like to tell us a bit more about your background in research?
Sure. Thanks, Karthik, for having me on this program. It's my pleasure to be here. As Karthik mentioned, I'm in the physics department at City College of New York and the City University, which comes under the umbrella of City University of New York. The background behind me is the oldest building on campus. What I work on is primarily how light interacts with matter. The interaction of light with matter is one of the most fundamental interactions that we see in nature. Everything from photosynthesis to the reason why we see things, all of this is driven by interaction of light with matter. What I am most intrigued by is the potential to modify or control this interaction at the nanoscale, where things are all driven down to very small length scales, where we can achieve phenomena like slowing down light. We can achieve phenomena like processes where one wavelength of light is converted to something else. We can make light undergo refraction or reflections in ways that are not possible naturally. So these are all the things that motivates me about the kind of area of research that we do. And one of the underlying themes is, can we combine the best of light and matter? And can we realize hybrid quasiparticles? I use the word quasiparticles, it's a big jargon, but it essentially means I'm creating something that has got properties of both light and matter. So just as an example, lightsabers that you see in movies should not clank because light doesn't like to interact with light. But if you made hybrid particles which have got properties of both light and matter, then when they clank, they should create a sound because they do interact with each other. So by imbibing the properties of matter onto the light, what we're really doing is make light interact with each other better. And that is probably one of the drawbacks of light, that light doesn't like to talk to each other. And we're trying to overcome that one drawback that light has. Does that answer the question, Karthik?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you want me to go over a little bit more details of the kind of things that we're doing, I'm going to use the whiteboard to explain some of the things we do. So let me just share my screen. I'm just going to use my whiteboard. So typically when light comes to, when we talk about light interacting with matter, you have light coming in, it interacts with some material, the electron in the ground state gets absorbed, it goes to an excited state, and then the opposite phenomena can happen where the electron in the excited state comes down and emits a photon, a light, right? So this is the most common phenomena that we see in nature. But suppose we now did a thing where we enclose this thing between two mirrors. Okay. Now, in such a way that the wavelength of the light that is coming out of this thing, of this light that is coming out, essentially forms a standing wave. Or in other words, it creates a wave. So this is my two mirrors. It creates a wave that looks like this, where the light, it's as if like you tied the string to the two ends and you've tied the thing, and then it starts interacting with your matter, which is placed in the middle, very effectively. So the advantage of this is now you can create a system where, I'm going back to my mirror example, I have my two-level system. An electron here comes down to the ground state, emits a photon. The photon gets reflected from the mirror, comes back. But now remember, the electron is here. Now this electron absorbs the light and goes back up, right? And then it again wants to come down. And when it comes down, it emits a photon. This photon goes, reflects back, comes back. It again wants to excite it. So you see, it goes back and forth between a light getting absorbed by an electron, going to the excited state, and then coming down and re-emitting. So this process keeps going on, and that's how you create this hybrid this hybrid quasiparticle which has got properties of both light and matter. So you can think of them as half light, half matter. So that's the idea, that you can create these hybrid quasiparticles. And so this is what we are most interested in. And this is a lot of the work that goes on in my lab revolves around creating these hybrid quasiparticles, studying their properties. We also have materials called 2D materials. So if you've heard of graphene, it's an atomically thin sheet of carbon atoms. So anytime you've used a pencil, a graphite or a lead pencil, and when you write, you see that the thing is, when you write, you find that whatever you wrote is very smooth on the paper, and you can actually, if you slip your hands, you will see something gray on your hands. That's because what you're really doing is you're putting a layer of carbon atoms one on top of the other. And these carbon atoms slip with respect to each other very well. And that's why they're slippery. And you can remove one from the other by using a technique called what is called a Scotch tape technique. Okay, and this Scotch tape technique is a very powerful technique, and what it does is it allows you to realize, really atomically thin materials. And so this is what we do in the lab. We use Scotch tape, take a crystal, and then we just peel it off, and you're left with atomically thin materials. So we work with those materials as well. So that's the kind of work we do with 2D materials. And then we kind of combine that with light, and we try to study their properties.